Hello everybody. Welcome. Strap in. We're going to go directly for the deep stuff, as is pretty common with me. A few preliminary notes. So, I would very much like to get to know other people in a more direct way, who are unusually insightful, creative, intelligent, musical, articulate, philosophically divergent, feral. And by feral I mean these are people who resist and not resist, but operate outside the cages of the common suppositions, most of which are insane, many of which are actually impossible, that pervade over our modern experience. So if you happen to be one of those people, or you know someone, I'm interested in deep conversation, not just Darren on his soapbox, giving the news. And as many of you know, I'm pretty resistant to belief. I have levels of confidence in various perspectives, but I prefer perspectival liberty. And that means being very suspicious about beliefs. There are, again, contingent contexts in which there are exceptions. So I believe in becoming a virtuous being, organism, animal, human, man, person, and so forth. I believe in that very deeply. And I believe that the virtues are real and matter. What do I mean by virtue? I mean moral and ethical sensitivity, aesthetic sensitivity, somatic sensitivity, relational sensitivity. The refusal to enact certain kinds of behaviors that lower the bar and are inclined to engage us in a sequential reiteration of bar lowering, which our species, especially at the group level, has monumental problems with. These are things I believe. I don't believe in moral or ethical fundamentalism. And ordinarily what happens, many of the problems that we face as moderns are related to our isolation, socially, communally, ecologically, environmentally, our separation from living places and from each other, right? In small, tightly knit communities that have lived in the same place for, X thousand years. I don't know what their lives are like, but I imagine that many moral and ethical dilemmas that we face as moderns probably fail to arise. And surely others may arise in their place. I don't have enough information or reportage or whatever to make significant judgments about this. But it does, I have seen firsthand in small, tightly knit groups of humans, pods I call them, and these can be assembled arbitrarily. They don't have to be, eternal. You can assemble them, let them diverge again, reassemble them, and so forth. But in small, tightly knit groups, there tends to be an atmosphere of mutual concern, intelligent and compassionate oversight, signaling to each other around incidents of defection, and so forth. So I think many of the problems that we face and many of the dangers that we are subject to as moderns primarily find their origin in separation, isolation, the concept of the individual, which, while not entirely untrue, is mostly just bullshit. There are no individual beings. There is no universe in which there are individual beings. Unity pervades monumentally over every human concept of distinction. In fact, without the concept of unity, you can't have the idea of distinction. Right? So, these are some of the things that are in my little preamble today. So what I want to talk about, which is a topic that has fascinated me since childhood, and that I have direct experience of contact with an unimaginably sophisticated NHI complex. I made a recording about this a few days ago, but I wasn't satisfied with it, so I took it down in case any of you were wondering where it went. The topic of UFOs, UAP, and their natures. Now, this is a very sophisticated forest with many branches. Misinformation, disinformation, malinformation, intentionally introduced by the military, prison, industrial, political complexes in order to ensure their primacy in a race for the development of machines and weapons and power structures and hierarchies and breakaway civilizations. In other words, unknown branches of the United States military, government, corporate structure, so forth, that are essentially vying to become the basis of a new civilization, or one that can protect itself from the apocalypses that it itself will foment, is fomenting. Obviously, if you look at the math, right, we think anyway, we are trained to think, that there's a limited amount of, quote, resources. No such thing as resources. This is a ridiculous and deadly idea. But if there's a limited amount of resources, then what you want is to capture those. And you want to capture them instead of letting the ecologies exist, or allowing human civilization to attempt to exist, or anything like this. So there's a bunch of agendas and features of our absolutely insane situation that attempt to capture this topic and its potentials. And in some ways, we're going to get into this in a deep way, the technologies involved. For the sake of producing weapons, which is the dumbest thing any organism could ever do around here. It's just as stupid as if your right hand started attacking your face with any object it could possibly find to inflict damage on it. Everything is unified first. There are no such things as aliens. This whole idea is completely wrong. In the sense that unity pervades, you have one family, one origin of all worlds, minds, and beings, moment to moment, in this moment, originating together. The reason that the humans use this word alien is because they have become alienated from themselves, from nature, from each other, from their potentials, from their life purposes, from their origin, from insight, from intelligence itself, and from reasonable or wise behavior. And it's not essentially their fault. Unfortunately, at the group level, we are easily captivated or captured by processes that naturally arise wherever we fail to be communal, and then double down on that failure, weaponize it, capitalize on it, operationalize it. And these forces are not human. I'm not even sure. I would be surprised if they are actually beings. I think they are complex structured absences of being. Much like the objects we produce, right? The things we call technology, these are the structured absences of being. They are the structured absences of life, right? And they provide a platform for the continuation of the development of new kinds of structured absences that are lethal to minds and beings and the history and future of life on Earth. It's staggering that this is not a common aspect of everyone's understanding. It's staggering that we don't teach this to children, but instead conscript them to serve and be subjugated to machines. This is insane. No intelligent being would ever even conceive of such a situation, let alone allow it to proceed, let alone support it, let alone become enslaved to it, let alone sing it as the savior of the future of mankind, right? Humankind, personkind, being kind. So, we need to be very clear with each other and remind one another and teach each other gently and beautifully and compassionately to see through the lies that we have been imprinted with and that we are inclined to promote, sustain, serve, be subjugated to, be enslaved for, and all of these things. And this is part of the spirit of my own work. I'm humble and, often mediocre though it may be. Your mileage may vary. So, the UFO UAP phenomenon is not limited to UFOs or UAPs. It's a phenomena that has to do with the nature of that which is and they who are and we who are existence. Yeah. And I hesitate to call it reality because reality refers to a substrate of phenomena, right? The fact that this bench that this guy's sitting on there today, very likely to be there tomorrow. If I turn away and turn back, it looks the same as it did before, except that my perspective might have changed if I have moved, or if the light has shifted, or the weather has changed. And there's a vast subset of humans that think that reality is only that for which there is concrete evidence. There's no chance of that being true. You can go ahead and think like that if you want. You will never have anything resembling a mind. What you will have is a lethal courtroom of competing objections to most of that which is, admitting only those things that resemble machines and concrete physical objects, non-life objects, because they persist in what appears to you to be an identifiable and continuous state that is capturable in concepts or ideation or can be pointed at with tokens. No one knows what an actual car is. I'm looking at one right now. It's an older Jaguar 4 APY 760 black, right? Okay, so I named some qualities of it. How many qualities do you think it has? 50? 1,000? 10,000? It has infinite qualities. And from above the conceptual perspective, where you can see the implications of the existence of an object, particularly a technological object, that thing is a lethal virus pointed at the heart of life on this world. Most people don't think that way. They may realize that cars are deleterious and environmentally harmful. They don't see what has to die every moment for that thing to continue to exist. And they think, well, it's solid, it's real, I know what it is. I have a concrete idea I know it's, forged by humans of parts. It does these certain things under certain conditions and so forth. Great. So you've got a grasp on about 1/1 billionth of its qualities, and you think you know what it is. Or one thinks they know. Thinking we know what stuff is probably one of the most dangerous aspects of human cognition, with the exception of the contexts in which such knowledge is useful or appropriate or safe to play with. When it escapes those contexts, it becomes lethal to the possibilities of insight and intelligence, awareness, understanding, and organisms themselves. And you see this everywhere with the objects that humans compose. I mean, plastic is a great example. Combustion engines are a great example. Electronic devices are a devastating example. We have no idea what we're distorting or fucking up in our bodies, minds, and souls by creating endless fields of electricity all around us all the time. The chances that that is safe or has no effect on anything important are zero. There's no chance of that. Yet millions of people suppose that hard electricity that runs through our walls and the wiring of our cities and the transmissive electricity from our phones and electronic devices is relatively safe. Bullshit. There's no possibility of that being true. Why do I think that? Well, if you know anything about biology and how cells function, then you know that the membranes of cells are incredibly electromagnetically intelligent and sensitive, and that these are used to mediate the interior cellular environment and relationships between cells, and electromagnetic distortions that are not evolutionarily established or that are uncommon in the evolution of organisms are damaging to these processes. Processes of protein folding, cellular replication, all of these things. You can imagine as an analogy. So what I'm trying to say is that what humans refer to as electromagnetism, they very poorly understand this because they've mechanized their concerns, is a feature of all of life that when disturbed or distorted fucks up everything. I was just listening to Bob Monroe, founder of the Monroe Institute, who was the president of a company that made radio dramas. I think he said, I don't know, 30s or 40s maybe. And he was talking about a radical transformation that took place in his life. And he had been a pilot, and this transformation began with a series of dreams where he would be taking off from a runway in an aircraft, but he would then soon discover that it was as if he was taking off from a city street and there were all these wires in the air, which he realized it was impossible to get above in the airplane without, crashing into them. I found this particularly powerful because I have had this same experience many, many times. I don't know how many times. Where we were taking off in an airplane, and suddenly I realized, oh shit, we're taking off from like a city street, and the air is full of wires. What do you think that represents? It represents electromagnetic interference and danger to the traveling body of human beings. These dreams preceded Monroe's first experiences with out-of-body experiences. I also had a different dream where some brilliantly playful and creative young persons, and one of whom was named Angel and had rainbow-colored hair, showed me that it was possible to instantaneously travel between places on Earth via a system of strings that were in the air that you could reach from the tops of high buildings. This was a very powerful experience, and clearly a non-ordinary thing, not an ordinary dream. I don't think those airplane dreams are ordinary either. I'm not even sure there's such a thing as ordinary dreaming. But we can understand the difference between different modalities of the dreaming intelligences and what they create together or enact or embody. So, yeah, this hard electricity thing is dumb. It kills. It's devastating to many aspects of our interiority, of which we have little knowledge and little understanding, though we may have some words to describe them, like soul or traveling body or astral body or so forth. I remember when I was very young, I had an experience where I became what I think humans generally refer to as an orb. And this language has become very common in modern times, particularly with the experiences of Chris Bledsoe and many others. I became an orb. I was probably 5, right? So I lie down to go to sleep. Suddenly I'm in a non-ordinary state. I am floating above my body. I am a green light. I am a green, blurry sphere. And I traverse the room in this form, and I can deeply sense the wiring. I can see the wiring in the walls and the electrical outlets, and I realize these are very dangerous. One should not go near them, ever. And of course, I tell my mom about this, and she says, "Oh, it was just a dream. Don't worry. This is impossible. There's no chance of that being a dream." But I understand that she was trying to protect me from a field of concerns that could lead me into, danger. Excuse me. There are no aliens. This is one family of beings. In all of its forms and modes, physical and non, ordinary and non. The thing that stands out as alien is machines. Technologies, devices, artificial objects. Every organism knows when it encounters a machine, this is death. This is death enacted and physicalized in a way it should never be. Most of our devices kill billions of beings simply by existing, and billions of beings per second have to die to keep them existing. These are unnatural objects. One can say, well, anything that exists is natural. Yes, but it's important to make various kinds of distinctions. That's the same thing as saying any experience is a good experience. Well, it's not. If something catastrophic happens to you and you're in agony or dying, it's not a good experience intrinsically. If you build something that radiates suffering into the entire history and future of life on Earth, this is undesirable at the very least, and is not natural. And what I mean by natural here is coherent in and with living beings and nature. Yeah? Our machines are incoherent. And isn't it strange that their identities are static and set in stone? Right? They don't change. They degrade over time, but they don't change. Right? The car kills everything it runs into. It doesn't pause for babies or mothers or, infants or birds or insects. It just kills indiscriminately. We should notice this feature of our machines together and very clearly go in a different fucking direction. Right? Like refuse to do this anymore. This is fundamentally wrong. This is sin whether or not there are divine beings. Right? This is blatantly obvious to anyone with a heart, to anyone with concerns about other beings, living beings, our world, its history, its future, the sun, the sky, our origins. These things are intrinsically bad. It doesn't mean that we should never make a device or a machine, but there's nothing overseeing these processes, and the processes have captured us as a species, right? And we are now subservient to our machines. Right? We are enslaved to them. Our bodies, minds, relationships, homes, families, children, ancestors, progeny, enslaved by these processes. This is deadly and stupid. No one would do this if they were oriented in their awareness, yeah, or intelligent. On any world where you have a primary representational cognitive like humans, and there are no processes that inhibit their technological development, you will have a dead planet in minutes. Geologically, in picoseconds. Right? So we aren't merely in danger, we are the danger. We are the danger, our species. We are the danger. There's no danger like us. And yet you have these people wandering around going like, are the aliens dangerous? They seem bad. They could be bad. Maybe they're demons. No, we are demons. Our species is demonic to everything that lives. Right? Not you, necessarily, though, we each have a role in the situation. Not me. I love human beings. I'm an anthrophile. We are the most expensive and dangerous experiment ever attempted around here. And I think we are an experiment, and I strongly suppose, I have high confidence, I don't believe, but I have high confidence, that we are engineered beings. Yeah? And not merely by time-space. I believe that we were, engineered is the wrong word, as we will see later in the discussion. We are beings that arose through the intelligent mediation of other forms of actually intelligent beings and systems in nature that we have little or no knowledge of, but we have many words about. Okay, you, little one, are in a dangerous spot. So let's get you... Are you injured? No, you don't seem injured. So let's get you to a better place, huh? Yeah. Let's get you to a better place. I know, it's scary. You don't know what's going on. But come off of this pavement where you will be crushed. Yeah? Yeah, let's get you... That's the way. Good one. Okay, so where are we going to go? Where will we go? Yeah, I am warm, you are cold. Let's go together to a safer place. You are a good being. Sorry, there's a little caterpillar. I've seen so many of them crushed on the pavement. And I would like this one, that I can affect its fate to be safer. I can't fix the whole problem, but I can move it from a very dangerous place to a safer place in the sun. Yeah. Just like that. Beautiful. All right. I like to think that there might be, this is it's a brilliant Larry Niven story about this, where spacefarer is awakened from cryosleep or something to discover that he's about to crash into a black hole or a neutron star or something. And this being is walking through space-time, this huge being. and it essentially picks up his ship and carries it to Earth, and he finds himself on a bench across the street from the house in which he grew up. So that obviously the being not only knew which world he came from, it knew which house he grew up in, right? And it took him back to the spot and set him on this bench and then woke him up there. Huh? And then this man on the sitting on the bench. This is the brilliance of science fiction, the power of this genre when it's used by an amazing mind to deliver insight. The man sees a young child walking along the path among the adults, and the child bends down and picks up a caterpillar and puts it on a leaf, on a plant, off the path. And the man thinks suddenly, he has this staggering insight that the being that rescued him from certain doom must have been a young one, a child, because the adults are too disoriented and dissociated to pay attention. That's funny. A couple of men were just walking by and they're definitely talking about UFOs and UAPs. One of them was saying there's a chance that we are rare and unique. I know, I could tell already from his few words what the orienting pivot of the conversation must have been, right? All right, so there's been some synchronicity here today, a little bit, which I love. It's inspiring. So I want to talk about the UFO and the UAP topic from a very specific angle. And the angle is that the arbiters of the identity of this phenomena should definitely never be the military prison industrial complex, right? The perspectival concerns of these factions of captured humans that exist primarily to kill and to weaponize technology are entirely the wrong folks to inform us ontologically about the nature of the phenomena. A, they don't know. B, their perspective is absolutely wrong. Their motivations are disoriented and stupid in the same way that, ridiculous civilization, like whole societies of humans, spend most of their resources to make weapons. The fuck is wrong with these people? They're not actually people is what's wrong with them. They're systems that have captured the humans. And there's nothing as lethal or dangerous as that. Nothing. Right? Because it will blind you to everything you need to be paying attention to. It will divert resources for its own sustenance, right? This is the warning of, I think, either Truman or Eisenhower, who in one of their speeches said, the military-industrial complex is the greatest. We must never let this get from out from under our observation, control, and mediation and awareness, which it certainly has. So I want to be absolutely clear about this. These are the wrong people to meet with non-ordinary phenomena. They're the wrong people to tell us what it does, what it doesn't do, what it's about. The data that we can get from them is useful, but it's also incredibly pre-poisoned, right? As we can see, obviously, with the disinformation, misinformation, malinformation, and in just intentional lying that's been going on for at least 7 decades in the United States alone. So these are entirely the wrong people to tell us anything about the ontology of our situation as human beings. We hear constantly bizarre language. They violated our airspace. There's no such thing as a violation of airspace. Birds are violating your airspace all day long. Do you think you could possibly forge a weapon that could protect you from the sun violating your airspace? You have airspace because there is a sun and a moon and the oceans, right? There is airspace because these things produce it. It's not yours. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to the United States. This is a perspectival collapse that is natural to a military-industrial prison complex, but is completely unnatural to living beings. Right? There's all kinds of phenomena in your airspace that you have no control over. You have no control over your airspace at all. What you can control is the incursion of military devices to an extent, and that extent obviously doesn't include things like drones. Good luck controlling, dealing with a swarm of, X thousand tiny mechanical objects. No chance of dealing with that. I mean, you could maybe EMP it, but at what cost to you? I don't even know. This is all insane. So I just want to be very clear that the orientations of the military prison industrial complex and their factions, the organs within that swarming mass of lethally disoriented and badly motivated groups of humans, these are the wrong people to interact with any phenomena that is alive, right? They might be the right people to interact with a military incursion from another country or with a military situation in another country. For that purpose, they're probably the right people. But we shouldn't even be doing that. No one should ever be doing that. This should have been over a long time ago. Yeah? Do we want to exist as living beings, or do we want to build weapons? You basically have a simple choice, right? Do we want to exist as living beings, or do we want billions of artificial objects? Or even worse, trillions of electronic objects? Do you see the problem? The humans keep making representations of things that kill the things they're making representations of. This is absolute insanity. The military prison industrial complex, particularly the military, these are not people that give you ontological understanding, right? These are people that view things, they are threat sentinels, right? They view things in a dialectic of military preparedness, opportunism, and what is this word? I can't find it. Essentially, the word means unstoppable military advantage, supremacy, inviolate supremacy. And this is what these ridiculous dead inside organs of human captured humans are all about. Right? So, even in my own mind, right, I have something that resembles a hypostasis of the military, right, a lesser form of the military. And if a physical or emotional threat is raised, this thing wakes up. Or if I encounter something I don't know what it is, this thing wakes up. It's a threat sentinel, is one way of thinking of it. Useful language. And when that thing wakes up in me, it's surprising how many degrees of liberty disappear until I evaluate the threat, the perceived threat, and realize, oh, this is a known thing, or no, this is an actual threat, I need to cope with this. In which case, the threat sentinel is insufficient to do this, right? Other aspects of, other organs of my mind forge and assemble and deforge and so forth in a cascade that leads to response. So you would definitely never want the military to be the bridge between humans and other intelligences. That is the wrong bridge. That is an ineffective and dangerous bridge to use. It should be very obvious that things that can travel in space-time, if they intended to pose any significant threat to us, we would be gone. There's no kind of thing you could do. I mean, the metaphors are ripe, right? It would be like people with pea shooters trying to attack somebody who has bombs or energy weapons or whatever. So the idea that they pose a threat is ridiculous, in my view, in a view that I have high confidence in. And some of that confidence was produced.
She loves people, so she wants to say hi, but we're still trying to train her. Okay, you want to say hi? I'll let her say hi. She'll say hi to you.
Hello, beautiful.
If she
Hello, sweetness. Hello, love. Hello. Yeah. Yeah, hi. Hi. Hi, sweetness. Hi.
She's little.
Yeah.
She's in full of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
We used to have that too,
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What a pleasure. There's contact with the non-human intelligence right there. I would argue that almost all of the intelligence is not human. Right? There's intelligence all around us. This world is transcendent. It's not merely intelligent. Once again, the humans are focused on the wrong thing. They like stuff that lets them make machines. What you actually want are relationships. There's no machine you could possibly build, ever, that could replace the unimaginable assets available to you on a living planet like this one, with diverse life forms, diverse intelligences all around you, who are effectively your extended body. There's no possible machine you could ever build anywhere in time that would be more beneficial, more profound, and would provide you with an infinite possibility space of liberties. This is what living worlds are. They are transcendent. They are not merely intelligent or sentient. They participate in a network of all the worlds in all of time, just like the stars do. These are things I have high confidence in. I mean, I might say I believe them, actually. I have direct experience of these matters. So this whole bullshit parade of, Earth is a separate thing and it belongs to the humans. You're going to find out right quick that ain't the case. And it never was, and it will never be. Our airspace is being violated. No, your intelligence is being violated by itself. That's what's going on there. They're violating the laws of physics. There's no such thing as a law of physics. There's no lawgiver. Physics isn't a fucking courtroom. Where do we get this language? Right? And you can see that the military prison industrial complex, it deploys language as a weapon. And by the way, if you think technology has to be devices, you're missing the point. The first technology our people devised was language, right? And that changed everything and brought with it a slew of dangers and deprivations. This is the other thing humans don't realize. They think, oh, technology gives us convenience. No, it deprives you of things. I'm not saying it doesn't give you convenience, but what's the cost? Right? And to what degree are you even able to do the accounting for the cost? Not much is the answer here. Nobody's very concerned with doing the accounting when everybody's racing to produce a new technology. So nobody knows what has to die for me to have this smartphone on which I can record this and send it out into the world. Very few people in any case. So there's all this language. And even in the recent film, The Age of Disclosure, there's a bunch of bullshit language, right? Politicians are like, this is a threat to our airspace. We don't know what this is, and we are responsible for protecting the United States. You're not protecting the United States. I agree that one small feature, often very poorly accomplished, of the military prison industrial complex in the United States is to protect the United States from military threats from other quote-unquote countries, as if there were other countries. These are all fictions, and they're lethal fictions. There's one planet here, right? The processes that have captured us that lead to the dominance of the military prison industrial complex, I'm just going to call this MPIC, MPIC, complexes, plural. So yeah, the MPICs are the wrong people to tell you anything. They are not your friend. They are not intelligent. They are opportunistic. They will enslave and destroy and frack your soul, your body, your family, your history, your future, your world, and you will get, dead wrapping paper in return. Right? You'll get photographs of what you might have become. You'll get movies instead of a life. Right? You'll get electronic representations of experiences you've never had and never will have, because they no longer exist on this world. Humans don't seem to realize that what you represent disappears from experience. There's a really good reason to be extremely adverse to any form of representation. I'm not saying we should only be that way, but without this concern, we are lost. Right? It is hopeless. So we must develop this concern again together and remind each other and show each other what is true and good and real about being a being, right? An organism, an animal, a person, a human person. Right, notice that I traverse the layers, right, from origin to being to organism to animal to person. Because our humanity is a sheath, right, on who we actually are. We are not what's, except in language. And it's very important to remember this. If you think, oh, I'm just another human. No, I'm not a human. Most of you is nature. Most of you is the earth, the sun, the sky, origin. Tiny portion of you is human. Meaningful, but once again, it should not pervade over the entirety of being. There lies disaster. So, the other thing I want to talk about is everybody's trying to figure out, like, what are these things? Well, first of all, there are probably at least 19 different things. And secondly, we probably don't have categories that appropriately contain or encompass the phenomenon. Because what is the phenomenon? It is the everything. What is a raccoon? It is the everything. The difference between a raccoon and a UFO is simply that you have a token and a category system with which you can refer to the raccoon in a way that is familiar and comforting to you, and you don't yet have a category system for these phenomena, right? And it may be that the phenomena themselves resist categorization. What about that? Like, I have a placeholder in my mind for phenomena that resist categorization, that are uncategorizable or mysterious. And in point of fact, there are no phenomena that don't fit in there. The difference between what fits in there and what doesn't is that we have traditional sort of, we have like a Dewey Decimal System for phenomena, right? Oh, this is a that. right? That is a this. Oh, I know what that is. Let me be very clear. When you know what something is, all you know is that it matches the token that you've selected to point at it with, right? I see a dog right now. Is the dog an angel? Almost certainly. Is the dog an alien? It definitely is if I'm just human-centric. You're fine. It's okay. He's good. Is the dog a machine? Well, if I think about organisms, in a mechanistic way, then for me, the dog's a machine. Right? Is the dog merely an appearance and not really there? Well, if I'm a mystic and I realize that all appearances, like, if I realize something like the real is that which never appears, and that which appears is never the real, right? Then I will first say that is not a dog. Right? So identity is mediated by conception when it is not mediated more fundamentally by biology or the soma, or when it is not mediated more fundamentally by the eye of the soul or the organs of the soul, right? Like the Egyptian 9 featured spirit elements, or even well, I'll leave off with the Greek hypostases. It's not a good match for my intent. So, what is it? Well, what if it's not a what? I mean, who is not a what? You can whatify a who, right? You can say that is a young man, that is a young woman, or that is a non-binary person, or that is a person of indeterminate gender identity, or whatever your evaluative orientation is or can become, right? What you find in evaluation, necessarily and without exception, well, no, there are some exceptions, but they're exotic, is that your purpose and your orientation in performing an evaluation determines the species of the derivations you will arrive at or derive. All phenomena are mostly unknowable, and the aspect of them that is knowable is confusing and deceptive when it pervades over the possibility space of learning, becoming together, especially together, transforming. When I am with another, or even when I'm making these recordings and I imagine my audience, I am a different one. I am not an ordinary Darren. I don't walk around like this in my regular life. This is a very special thing that happens to me, that I become available to when I engage in the possibility space of this way of learning and unforgetting and growing and remembering together. Yes, there is technology involved, and without it, it seems unlikely that I could do the same thing, but I could probably do something vastly superior if there were no machines. We don't seem to notice that our technologies deprive us in so many ways while delivering on one or two or three focal conveniences. And often these conveniences, quote unquote, have to do with skipping time, skipping relation. We think they have to do with skipping work, but not realizing that work is a form of intimacy with our own life path and experience. And I don't mean the work of working for some fucking company. I mean the work of gathering, growing, preparing food, feeding each other, communal hygiene, and construction and so forth, right? Building teepees and transporting them and so forth. So yes, our technologies are deleterious. They destroy faculties that are intrinsic to our nature, and replace them with conveniences. And often this involves, as I said, skipping work, skipping over intimacy, skipping time. Think about your refrigerator. It slows down time. Think about your oven. It speeds it up. Think about the internet, right? What is it doing to time? This is a separate topic, but time is nothing like a linear sequence of moments. Time is a complex web of beings, and is itself, I think, something that resembles an angel or a god. So we should notice that when our technologies deliver convenience or dopamine or entertainment, something is being destroyed in us and the world. And, the military prison, the MPICs, right, they're like, well, we want to know what we want, dominance over this technological opportunity space. Right? The phrase I was trying to think of earlier is asymmetric military advantage, which is the goal of every military system that exists on Earth. And is the reason why the UFO UAP topic has been the greatest deception in modernity. Just abject lying, hiding, fund siphoning, theft, murder, you name it. Obliteration of people's minds, reputations, lying to them about ontological primitives, right? It would be like if someone said, the sun doesn't really exist, you're just out of your mind. The earth is heated by its interior, right? Yeah, that's what produces the atmosphere here. It has nothing to do with the water or living beings. It comes out of machines deep in the earth. Anyone who thinks otherwise, you kill those people. This kind of bullshit. So this is a monumental deception of ontological primaries, right? That we are not alone, that we are probably not a merely evolved species, that space-time is rife with transcendent beings, that these beings have methods of traversing space-time and of directly affecting human cognition, minds, so forth and so on, influencing them, directing them, shutting them down, just like we do, except vastly superior. So this brings me to the last leg of today's talk, which has to do with another piece of language that you constantly hear everyone saying, particularly in Age of Disclosure, and any conversation where you're talking with politicians, scientists, or military people, intelligence folks. And the whole conversation is about technology. We want the technology. Did it ever occur to anyone that technology is a lesser stasis of something that is not a machine? That is not technological in the way that we understand technology at all? Because I promise you, I know firsthand from direct exposure, from direct seeing, with another actually intelligent mind, a transcendent mind, that there are forms of activity that are a-technological, that produce the appearance of what humans would necessarily demand must be machines. Yet they are not machines. In other words, there's a superposition above machines that is accessible to all living beings in various ways and in various registers, at different registers, which has something to do with the direct and seemingly miraculous capacity to forge and dissolve matter into any desired form or purpose at will. And the humans think, well, this necessarily involves machines. This is a technology. No, it's not a technology. It's techne in a sense, in the old Greek sense, of a method, right? Again, think about language, right? Language is a non-physical technology, right? That structures consciousness and cognition, awareness and behavior. Yeah? But there's no machine involved. There's no machine there, okay, at all. I mean, there is now, right? LLMs, because the humans keep offloading our developmental. There's a good example. Our developmental momentum into objects and devices, so that we do not develop or evolve, they do, at the cost of the history and future of life on this world. Not to mention the present moment of life on this world. So I want you to compose in your awareness an ontological primitive that machines and technologies are a minor derivation of. And imagine that, because there is, for example, the universe. The universe doesn't use machines to assemble stars or worlds or beings, right? There's no machines involved in that. This is a process that is far beyond any hope of mechanical development, right? And it is ever present everywhere. Your own mind is an example of this. Do not give up the complexity, the possibility space, the liberties, the degrees of liberty that are natural to you as a being, and all the other registers, right? For the sake of thinking that a machine is the means and end of advancement. This is nothing, this is impossibly, sorry, I'm getting overwrought here. This is fundamentally untrue, right? Machines are not the purpose of our being. They are not the purpose of our people. They are not the purpose of this world. And their existence is a symptom of a disease. Especially, I'm not saying intelligent or transcendent beings would never forge machines. They would never need to forge machines. All of the things that machines appear capable of doing for us, we are much more capable of doing without them. This seems unlikely, but our understanding of our own nature, this has even been directly said to us by beings from the sky or, Dimension X, or both. They've said over and over again, you don't know what you are. You don't understand your own potential. You've got this wrong, humans. And not only have you got it wrong, you're in a death race against yourself and the history and future of life on your world. Like, not just wake up, but how about just stop doing ridiculous, insane things that kill everything, including your own minds, like kill the awareness with which you might seek liberation, something resembling transcendent development, which is our nature, right? We are made of the same stuff as stars, and I don't mean the materials, I mean the transcendental aspects of being. We are the sun, in a way. Our planet is like an organelle in something that is transcendental to but resembles a cell, where the sun is the nucleus and the sphere of ices that we call the Kuiper belt, which is not really a belt, it's more, I think it's more of a sphere. Right? This is like the membrane around the cell. Analogously, right? This is why my website is called organelle.org. Because the earth is like an organelle in a cell, and it's the one where living beings are profuse and can live on the surface easily, freely. So yeah, we keep hearing like, we want the technology. What if it's not a technology? And also, one of the things I liked about Age of Disclosure is many of the things that I have said for decades were being validated, particularly that this phenomena, if we think of them as vehicles or craft, they create a bubble that's essentially outside of space-time, and they travel in that bubble. And so the inside of the thing is not the same thing as the outside, and when something comes out of the thing, it is not the same thing as it was on the inside. And this goes to problems that I often speak about supposing and expecting and being very upset about the fact that we don't have a static identity, right, for these things. But we ourselves do not have a static identity. This whole idea of static, localized identity is a big lie. There are features that we can derive that resemble that. Do they pervade over the entire system? Absolutely not. Impossible for them to do that. So when we're looking at these phenomena and we're trying to understand what they are, one of the probably more weird features of this problem is that they don't have a us and them perspective. They just have an us perspective. So we often hear them communicating to humans, "We are you." And the human's like, "What? What do you mean? You're like us from the future?" They're like, "No, we are you now. We are together. We are one thing in different registers of existence. And there is nothing that isn't like this, but the thing that is least like this is fucking machines." These are least like this. These are most like separate objects that kill to exist. And they give death, not life. Exceptions noted. So, the military and the MPICs, they're like, "We want the technology. We want to learn how to build these things." Nothing would be deadlier for humans than to possess this technology. Humans are absolutely untrustworthy with, at the group scale, with technologies at all. I am aware of technologies I could patent or develop that would be far beyond anything we presently possess. I have not developed or patented them because it would mean death for billions of people. There's nothing the humans won't weaponize, right? I've often argued that a scientist of any kind of reasonable, moral, or ethical perspective would refuse to publish. Because anything you give to the humans will be used to kill and torment and cause suffering, with very few exceptions. And those exceptions are generally bought up and shelved to ensure they do not gain purchase in the sphere of opportunism and domination that prevails in communist and capitalist countries. So yeah, we're in a big fucking mess. But I want you to suppose that at least some... Now, I also think that some branches of the phenomena probably are technological or have a technological feature, but that doesn't mean, oh, this is a technology, right? I think it seems very likely, there are many reports of this, that, some branch of the phenomena involves extraterrestrials, beings who live on planets elsewhere and come here or travel the universe, exploring and so forth, in something that probably also is a superposition over the idea of a machine, but is more or less comprehensible as a machine. Yeah, that's part of it. Certainly. But we need to see beyond machines, right? There's a whole library of methods and faculties, abilities and behaviors that obviate the necessity of machines entirely. You would never build a machine if you were aware of these, not one time. And these are mostly lost to us. We are unaware of them. Nothing that the humans imagine as desirable requires a machine to achieve. Travel to other worlds, contact with other minds, trade with other peoples. None of this requires machines. We live on a world that suffers under the aegis of a fundamental array of deceptions. Spiritual, cognitive, intellectual, philosophical, ontological, epistemological. And these deceptions rule this world. I don't suspect they are the activity or progeny of bad beings, but I am certainly willing to entertain that perspective with deep awareness and confidence. It's not my perspective. I think unity pervades in mostly what we think of as evil or wrongdoing, which seems to me mostly missing from nature and deeply associated with human behavior, humans having defected from relation, communion, evolution, ecology, environments, living places, the sky. This looks similar to evil, but I don't really see anything like this in nature. And where I do see it, it looks like humans had some role in generating it. Or rather that the damage to the network of human minds is contagious and spreads to other situations. I wouldn't be surprised to discover in the future that we are primarily responsible for most of the things that we are very concerned about in nature, disease and so forth. Almost all that threatens us comes from humans. There's exception, right? Rocks from the sky, geosolar changes and so forth. Yeah, sure. But we'll, left to our own devices, quote unquote, what a hilarious and appropriate colloquialism. We, quote unquote, meaning the species, we will obliterate this planet. People are like, the planet's really strong. It can survive catastrophes. It's been through them before. Yeah, you don't know that. You have no way to tell that. And the fact that, it's just like saying, well, it's similar, right, to saying you will survive all car accidents because you survived one. This is bullshit. The sun and the earth have lifespans, and there are certain spans of their relationship in which life is possible or prevalent or very, very likely. There are other spans where it is not that way. This is a process here. It's not a stable, continuous thing like, separated from nature and safe. No living world is ever safe. There are myriads of catastrophes that can snuff it. A world is a bit like a cell, right? If you fuck up the membrane, now you can only exist in artificial environments, quote unquote, under the surface or, Technology is what you want if you want to inhabit an uninhabitable world. And then you want technology. If you have a habitable world, you definitely do not want technology. Every organism on Earth will agree with me. I don't care what people think. Go ahead and think whatever you like. There are 0 organisms that will be like, yeah, that technology, the humans, let's have more of that. None of them. Not one bird, not one insect, nothing. I mean, imagine the suffering of houseflies trapped in a house against a window. It doesn't make any sense at all. There's no such thing as a window in nature. You can see through it, but you can't pass through it. There's nothing like that. As I'm winding down here, I'm aware that there are 5 things that I got nowhere near in this walk and talk, but Just understand something simple. They who are, that which is, existence, the universe, is much more than reality. Yeah? The register that we think of as reality, the dependable, reliable, continuous, stays the same under observation and so forth, that's a very thin membrane on a transcendental and impossible to conceive of. If your mind were to touch it, what it would discover is endless, infinite layers of it's more than you thought it was every time you look at it again. It's more new ways of being, more than what you thought every time you touch it with your mind. The answer to how many angels can dance on the head of a pin is something like a geometric progression more than the last time you looked. And actually 3 answers. 1, more than the last time you looked, catastrophically more. None, and a 4th position and a 5th position, at least 2 positions, that seek insight beyond your answers. And this is the nature of all phenomena, but particularly the phenomena that we think of as non-ordinary. There are vast manifolds of phenomena that are neither real nor irreal. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It means they don't fit in your categories. So expand your categories and have places for such phenomena in your category system. A goodly portion of the non-ordinary, Bigfoot, NDEs, what we call wrongly telepathy, mind sight, UFOs, UAPs, beings from other places or worlds, plasma phenomena, ghosts, angels, demons, the supernatural, all of these things are an aspect of the way the universe expresses its natures within and to itself. Yeah? These are all features of the coming forth of being and non-being, and the mysterious that refuses encapsulation in concepts, which is most of what's going on. Science and physics are not going to give you the answers because they can't tell you what anything is, right? They don't know why there are things, or what the purposive spirit of origin is, and how it is expressed in situations and phenomena in nature, and in the before and after of nature, in the between. Now, this is the other thing. There are bridges between the aspects of that which I think of as the dandelion and the myark. There are bridges, and these phenomena represent bridges, right? Just as a human who spends a great deal of time with, for example, rattlesnakes, calling out my friend Ryan First Diver here. Look him up on YouTube and Facebook, Ryan First Diver. Blackfoot Beaver Man, brilliant soul and mind and human being, and more than human being. And a brilliant vessel of the preservation of the Blackfoot ways of life. You know, people have attacked him and said, oh, he's a pretendian and all of this kind of bullshit. Those people who are attacking him are not half the Blackfoot man he is, in every case, without exception. So, my point, though, is that there are these bridge beings, right? Imagine a man who spends a great deal of time with rattlesnakes and adores them and is their confidant, and they communicate to him and they show him things about their way of life and their people and their mind and their spirit, yeah? And then he comes to the humans and shares some of these things with them. This is a bridge being, yeah? And there are many, what we call experiencers in, Reddit, in subreddit language. These are bridge beings. And, some of them are delusional, or they've been damaged by their experience, or they are hurt, or they are isolated, or they have suffered. Okay. Everybody suffers. Everyone who's been to war suffers. Everyone who's been in commerce suffers. Right? We are all suffering under the aegis of unimaginably stupid and unnecessary features of the human situation here. So let us be more attentive to that and a little more open and less concerned about non-human intelligences. Yeah. I don't feel assaulted by the raccoons, though close proximity to one who is in distress can be a problem. The bridge beings and the bridge experiences, the liminal experiences, these are very important to our understanding of where we come from, who we come with, who we come for, our natures, our potentials, our faculties that are hidden from us and lied about. And lied about in both ways, right? Yeah, you can just manifest anything you want. Okay. That's not entirely untrue, but the off-the-shelf version of that is nonsense. And a lot of woo culture sort of operationalizes language as if it is the ambassador of the lost, abilities and faculties of the humans. In some cases, this has merit. In others, this is deceptive and a misuse of our capacities of intelligence and language. Though often, as human beings, we need toys before we get to the direct experiences. Yeah. So it's okay to have toys. The problem is when the toys dominate us. They dominate our thought, awareness, expectation, motivation, purposive spirit, communal sense, and so forth.
Come on. Let's go.
So, these are some of my thoughts for today. I'm very grateful to have this time, still be alive and learning and growing. And I think the Age of Disclosure documentary is very powerful and profound. Kudos to all those who were involved in producing it. One last thing. This whole idea of ontological shock, I just want to retranslate that language. Ontological shock is what learning is. When you learn, you experience ontological shock in the sense that your previous perspectives are transformed, right? And they are naturally transformed. So I'm not concerned about ontological shock. I'm concerned about breakaway civilizations and the dominance of the MPICs over the entire history and future of life on our world. That's fucking concerning. Ontological shock, bring it on. Right? Give me more of that, please. Because I want to see better. I don't need to be safe in my biases. I need to grow and learn and perceive and wonder and explore and experiment and play and create. Yeah? I need to be able to import the impossible into the enacted. This is the nature of beings, this one thing. It's not the only aspect of our nature, but it's a crucially obvious, an ontological primitive, if you will, for me. Maybe for you as well now. Yeah, so grateful and humbled to have this time. I acknowledge all of those beings who have been my mentors and teachers. Particularly, I remember White Rabbit and Toymaker, the non-human intelligences that were my mentors and still are with me in some sense. And like my parents are, and my parents I acknowledge very deeply. And all of those intelligent persons who I've encountered, the authors and artists and lovers and creative, brilliant beings who were engaged in the great adventure together, with and for each other, for the sake of virtue and beauty and reconciliation and justice, not in the sense of punishment or vengeance, but in the sense of ameliorating the origins of trouble. Yeah. I hope you'll take a moment support my work in whatever way feels natural. Like, share, leave a comment, ask a question, share an insight, leave a criticism. Let me know your own perspectives and what you have experienced or seen or come to understand. Our power in learning is together. This is where our power is, in our communal natures, capacities, and behavior. If you want to support my channel directly, you're free to make a donation if that feels natural to you, via Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon or directly through my Venmo or PayPal or whatever. All of those links are in the About section of my YouTube channel. And YouTube, you are bad. I need a much better platform than this, and so does everyone. Google is evil. They went against their orienting principles, as nearly every corporation does, and just became straight up evil. They sold out to advertisers and other factions. So Google, you are bad. Become good or go away. I've had so many people tell me that their comments disappear. Obviously, my channel is, somewhat shadow banned. Probably for ideological reasons, but also because I don't monetize. I refuse to monetize. And some people watching my videos may see advertisements anyway. Just be aware that I am absolutely opposed to advertising. Without exception. Total opposition. This is a force that is destroying human lives and is bad, in my view. I'm surrounded by beauty right now, even though there's cars everywhere. It's the weekend, and so everyone is trying to get into nature, which is, I'm in the beautiful Golden Gate Park, without which I really don't know how I'd survive. If you want to hurt me, just take away GGP. That'll fuck me up really good. Yeah, it's warm, sunny, summery in late November 2025. So thank you for joining me. I wish you beauty and liberation, insight, creativity, play, healing, love, comfort, care, and the opportunity to adventure in the space of your incarnation on our world in ways that are beautiful and resurrect the virtues at the core of our being. May your way be sweet and guarded by the divine beings who are most trustworthy and beautiful. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to learning together again very soon. Bye-bye for now.